Thank you so much. I will go through the general trends quickly. They are also on a video, a short video, so you can see. I've just taken out a few highlights. What we have discovered over the last period is that our life is a long pearl, a necklace of everydays. So every day is very important. And what I try to illustrate here is that everyday objects, they are ornamented, like we should also ornament our everyday, and we should be good at celebrating also smaller events. So make things beautiful and make your everyday beautiful, because it becomes a better life. Next slide, please. This is quite a heavy statement. It comes from the United Nations. They have calculated that the designer have such a big impact on all design, on all things that are designed, and all the things that exist in the world. So it's really a heavy burden to have on your shoulders as a designer. One of the most important things you can do for a sustainable world is to make fewer things, and most of all, make them very long-lasting, because then you use less resources to make them. From the start. If you can do with one t-shirt, and instead of 3, then you will have used less resources to make one t-shirt instead of 3, even though the one t-shirt is a very good quality. It won't have taken up 3 times as much, and you can keep it for a longer time. It means that it will take longer time before it will go into some sort of recycling. Circularity is very important also, but the first life of a thing is extremely important. Another thing that is important also for design, and to keeping in mind when you design, is that design is not as focused on a younger generation. It is getting more from young to old. The older population is growing also, and they're becoming more demanding, and therefore things will be designed, things that would have a very big lifespan. So you can use it when you're 20, and you can use it when you're 60. It also depends on the context, what you wear it together with. So, and function will be important, is still important. They are efficient. Also, our garments will be efficient, and above all, they will be beautiful. And this doesn't mean that they will be very decorated. They will be beautiful. That's another. It's sort of something that is inside the fabric and the garment. Next slide, please. Sharing values is the same as saying belonging to a group. So we want to be part of the solution. We are part of the problem, and we will be, even though we try to fight it, but we will be. We are also a part of the problem, but we also want to be part of the solution, and we also want to be it, but also demonstrate it through our choice of fabric, our choice of garments, and fashion. It's not a political act. It is more about a human act, that you actually choose fabric or choose garments that are good for the world, and that is will be a very important thing, because you also tell the surroundings and the people you see that you actually think before you buy. So Jennifer, will you put on the color video? It is 3 minutes. Thank you. You can make it run. sorry. So as you can see, also the colors are made in a way that they can be combined. So you bring new things into your wardrobe with the colors, and they mix with the colors you already have. So this is a very important way of thinking new stuff. So tomorrow, I hope you will remember that every day is the most important day. Design is very important for a sustainable future. That you have to sort of talk into people's values, and also that we want to emphasize that we are individuals. The last slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you for listening. Now I will go to the fabrics. For the fabrics, these fabrics, they are collected all over the world. They are old fabrics. They are not something new. Well, some of them are also new, but they are generally old fabrics, which we find because we find them that they are in trend. Something like this would be you should do for the next season. This is another material. It's not Lenzing material. It's not new developments. This is only inspiration for the season. So I start out with the ready to wear, and and we start with the chinos, jackets, this type of weight and fabrics. Here we have a quite carved fabric. We have brushed because it's for winter, and we like, what is very important with all the fabrics for this season is that we have a surface. We want something nice, something irregular on our body. We don't want hard glassy things just like a screen. We want things that are human, and this is what we are. All these fabrics, they are about being human touch. And another thing is also that if you have a texture on a fabric, it will be easier to transmit your message over the screen, and we will look into a lot of online sales and a lot of communication through screens. Then we have also color combinations where you can see the irregularity of the fabric. You can see that it's not a flat, boring fabric. It has just like our skin. It has a surface which is interesting. We also have here a herringbone, but we also have the how the color changes and how we mix the colors. So we also get a depth in color, in the color, using more colors in the weave. Here we have a little texture. So it's not a flat fabric, but it is a texture. Irregular yarns and color effect is always very interesting. This has one weight, but it could be easily, especially heavier, but it could certainly also easily be thinner. But the playing with the colors and the irregularity makes the surface much more interesting. It's so much about interest in surfaces. Here we have another way. This is a very thin fabric, but we have this how colors and irregular yarns are put together and makes an interesting surface. It's not rocket science, but it gives it makes the fabric more interesting, and it makes it it's something that you want to touch it, because you don't know how does this feel. Also boucle is interesting because it has this irregular effect, and you can also make a lot of different putting colors together. It's not that you should make 15 colors together, but you can move the color and the surface with the color. And then the last thing here, which is very interesting, because this is this is a stretch fabric, and it's with no synthetic added. It is only it's not only, but it is obtained by how the yarn is spun. So it's in the spinning, and this makes it possible to do a stretch fabric. This is a plain weave, and you know how much the plain weave does not move and has no stretch. So it makes it possible to do mono material, which then for an afterlife or recycling is easier. Then we go to shirts. These are men's shirts, but sorry. This is men's shirts, and this is a very soft handle in cellulose, which is interesting because it's very warm, but it's still a cellulose. It's not a wool, and it's an old type of fabric, but it's it will have a comeback. Here we are talking about another fabric. This is one partly in modal, and then we have another other fabric or another fiber on the inside. And also this is a warm, nice, light fabric. The fashion that have been there for quite a long while with combining a lot of shirts, one on top of each other or on top of t-shirts, it will for sure remain, also because we have with the climate change the way of dressing, like you say in Italian, like onions. So you have a lot of layers, and that is it also makes it possible that you can make new outfits of what you have in your wardrobe. Very classic, I say, yeah, very classic cellulose feeling, hand feeling. Have this very nice, slightly heavy drape and very lively fabric. That's also very interesting, and it has this sort of almost a caressing effect when you wear this type of fabric. We have the same quality almost, but it is texture again, making it interesting. The surface interesting, but not only the texture, we also have different colors, a color effect. Here we have the same type of material, I think, but this is round. It actually, you can see that it moves different, and it makes more shape. It's more drapey. Here, this is softer, and it's also so it's drapey in another way. And again, you can see that it's nice fabrics. It's not something it's not fabrics that you have to fight against. It will embrace you. These fabrics will embrace you, and they have interesting surfaces, interesting colors. Well, not interesting colors, they're great, but interesting color, playing with the color effect. Velvet or corduroy is always interesting for winter because of how it contains air, and for this and in this way they are isolating. Here, this is not a corduroy, it's a fake corduroy, but it has the same feeling, and it almost feels like corduroy, not quite a corduroy, but something like it. And here we also have another corduroy, which is a baby corduroy, and then it's printed, and it's printed fantastically well. It follows the lines of the corduroy. So that's also a new way of thinking about corduroy. Corduroy and velvet is always good. Here we have a double face fabric, which also adds to the weight, but it gives volume without giving too much extra weight. And this classic feeling, classic weave, classic menswear weave is important. Again, you can see how the fabric is constructed. We want to see how things are made. And here we have another weave where we have, it's more complicated, it's with different weaves together, but it makes the surface interesting, and we can also see how it is made. Even, I mean, I know that it's not weavers looking at it, but when you sell it, but you can see that things are moving in different directions. So there's this interest in knowing how. So now we go into women's wear, but there's to say that all these fabrics, they are organized. These were mostly menswear, but they are also for women. We will have a lot of fabrics that are used from both genders and for many different uses. They can be used for shirts and they can be used for trousers. So there's really no limit to how you can use a fabric. Here we have also, again, we have this, like we had with the shirts. It's the same cellulose feeling, this heavy feeling, which is a classic feeling for cellulose, and it's also round. So again, we have this that you can actually shape in it. We want it shiny. We like shine, so we have satins. Here's a satin with a brushed backside, which is interesting. A thinner satin, and then Lenzing Luxe is perfect for this shiny, because it is, well, it's more or less the most luxury fabric you can have, I think. It's a natural shine. It's not an added shine. It's really a natural shine. It's in the fiber. Of course, it's also in the weave, but it's really totally fantastic. We have, again, playing with the colors. We have the Jean. We have it in a plain warm weft in 2 colors, or in a velvet. Again, we have the velvet. In this case, we have a velvet, and it is also this changing of the color. We have the velvet, and in the men's shirts, we had the corduroy. Ornament, not necessarily this ornament and not necessarily a cloquet, but the idea of combining structures and make a surface more lively, that's important. Then we want to have customized clothing, but without being customized, because customizing things, really, that's still we are still far from there to customize ready-to-wear garments, really customize it. But so here, one of the possibilities to customize is also to use pleats, because pleats, they follow the body. Here we have a common pleat. It's common, but it's still also, it's in a with the moving the surface, it's with a pattern. And here we have, and that is actually in it's in wool and viscose, and and it keeps the pleats anyway. It's very warm. It's very, it's fantastically wrapping, caressing. It is really very nice. But the interesting thing is that there's it's mostly a cellulose fiber in there. And then we have some wool, tweed, because tweed is also irregular. It reminds of it's not a hard and it's a nice and inviting surface. We have flannel. That's also a very nice and inviting surface, but it's not something, it's not bulky. It's not a lot of volume. It's reduced as volume. This is actually quite flat, but it has this nice and warm feeling, very elegant feeling also. And the tweed here, where we have all the different yarns and colors and a little bit of hairiness, very little, but it's an interesting, there's an interest to the surface. And then last we have knit, flatbed knitting, meaning thinner knits. We also have some thicker but thinner knits, but the most important thing is still to have surfaces which are interesting. So we have, they are thin, but they also have, they're not, it is knitted and it is loose in a way. It's a little bit loose, but it is a texture. It is a texture that also gives volume without giving weight, and it gives more warmth than having a lot of weight. So different ways, just really don't block your fantasy in what you're doing here. There's a lot of solutions to do it, to do small ornamentation. Talking small, we're talking reduced, we're talking we're not talking something very very loud. It has to be classic, and it has to be also send a signal about quality, and something that this is not a thing I have bought and I'll wear it twice and then I'll throw it away. This is not what you want to signalize, the signal you want to show. Boucle, it's interesting, and it keeps air, so it's isolating without being very heavy. Chenille is a very nice and sweet and nice touch, absolutely. And then we go to some of the hairiness. This is, I don't know, Angora or something, very, very soft. But what is the most interesting thing is the real hairiness, which is, this is a mohair, I suppose, I don't remember. But it's this hairiness, which is more like a sort of a layer of, also a bit mystery layer. Here we have Shetland wools where you have the dead hair, which don't take color. So you have, it's a gift of another color in there, because it's a non-color, and it gives this very classic feeling, which is so enormously important. You also have it here. It's a thinner and much softer fabric, but this way of working with a hairiness that is more a hint of hairiness than actually hairiness. So this was for woven. Now we will continue with the jersey and the innerwear. I think that I haven't put in too many inspiration, for example, woven in for knit or else, but anyway. Here, also here in the innerwear, we're talking about classic values, which are very important. Here we have this, the construction is not so important because it's just a very good, very nice, very classic t-shirt quality. And this is the one you can have, you can produce it with very short fibers and not very, with not a very long life, or you can produce it in a very good quality and they will have a long life. And that is actually, it's actually what it's all about. We have more different, it's still the same technique, but it's different outputs, it's different, it looks differently. Here we have a more silky look. And this is, sorry, I forgot to say that this is for underwear. So this is for what you really have next to your skin. You want a luxury feeling. You really want something very, very nice for your, to have on your body. This is also a classic t-shirt fabric, but it's like a little bit brushed, or it has a little bit of a talc surface. Sorry. Too much textile. Then we have wool, also very fine wool, and that could certainly be very good blending with Lenzing fibers. Now, I'm not talking about really about fibers here, because in the video there are a list after each section. There's a list about which Lenzing fibers are the best to mimic and to obtain the trends I've been talking about. Rib is always good. Here we have a rib with it's a normal rib, but it's also not a normal. So it's also about making the classic, trying to give the classic a twist. This is a beautiful, beautiful fabric, like an old innerwear thing. Here we have, it's not a rib, but it's not a rib, but it's two colors. And because we have the floating on the back, we add volume and we add air and warm without adding so much weight. Here we have something very, very thin. It's also a rib, but it's more to do an ornament to the fabric than actually to do a stretch thing. And there we have, here we have in the in knitted, the knitted version of the fabric I showed you in the beginning of the ready to wear section, where we have the stretch, which is built in the spinning of the yarn. This is of course much more elastic because it's a knit structure, but still it is very elastic because it's the spinning has been this way. So also more simple spinning ways like crepe is a very important thing to develop and to exploit in this season, because again you can make a little stretch function with without adding for example a polyester or synthetic fiber to a Lenzing fiber. Then we go into nightwear, and we have also here, you can see now that we start on doing the shiny, we want shine, two different weights, two different ways of draping, but it is plain knit and plain jersey, but the yarn and the material makes a difference. We have another shine here, which is like a polished surface. On the back, you can say that it's see that it's not shiny. So this polished, we want an elegant shine. We don't want a loud shine. We really want it to be something coming from the fiber. It's not something that we add. I know that the polishing is something we add, but we want it to be very honest. And honesty, I think that's quite an important word for this season. Less floating handles, still very simple, very classic. Here we have sort of a derivated rib, very classic. Again, we have this talc feeling, which is special to touch. It's a dry and a warm touch in the same moment. Knitting, more knitting than actually jersey, and fully fashioned. That's also interesting. This is not fully fashioned, but having this again, this is something a fully fashioned. It's more something that is made for you on purpose, and this having this individuality, having this that you are the center, as with a customized, as with that we share with you how we have made the fabric or fully fashioned. So this is elements that is important. It's not something that you have to shout at, but just let it shine through now and then. Heavier fabrics, French fleece, because it's a very classic thing, and it's a very classic thing, and it's very nice and warm. Here we have a double. I think you could be able to see there with tubes, and also this light, not too light, but it's warm. And the warmth we have here, where we have something really, really teddy bear, brushed, and again, it has this very inviting surface. It's something that you have to touch it, and this is a very important topic that we want to inviting people to touch whatever we wear, or we want to invite people to touch the garment, and this is also a way of making them buy. So now we are already at homeware, loungewear, and we want to do this. Is extremely soft. It's very irregular, not only in the yarn, but also in the technique. And it also has a little bit of hairiness. I don't think it's brushed, but it's in the yarn. So this is a very, very interesting surface without being loud, but without shouting, "Here I come." But it's very nice. And then in the same time, it's really caressing. This is a very good example of what we should aim for in different ways, and of course brushed backside, because it's nice, and then we have a little bit of the surface is a little bit of difference in the two stripes and heights, and again, like in the ready to wear, we have this hairiness, this Shetland feeling, which makes the surface nice, warm, interesting, and adds also to the color. So the dead hairs and the slight hairiness is very important. Tailoring in jersey have been very important for many seasons, and it will still be, because another thing that we have discovered is that comfort is so nice. So we want things to be comfortable, but we also want them to be fancy. Sure, we're not loose jogging trousers in a gray melange 24/7. No. Double fabric is a good way to make a stable, a sustained fabric, which you can also use for tailoring. You can do it 2 colors or you can do it 1. You don't necessarily have to go to double fabric. You can also have it here. This is not a double fabric, but still you can see that we actually have tailored inserts here. And then of course, all what you have of sort of textures, knits, it gives volume, it gives stability, and it does it without adding a lot of weight to the fabric. Very classic and not really anything special, but it makes the surface interesting and it gives body to the fabric without adding weight. Here we have a very thick fabric and very stable. And then we just as last in this story, this is not quilted, but it's in the knitting, but it has this 3D, so you can actually shape forms, and it's interesting for a fashion designer to work with stuff like that. And then at the end, we have women's tops, and here we are really all shine. Here we give it all, but and again, just as in the ready to wear, women will not only go dressed in these very shiny fabrics, they will mix with all the others. So again, you will just take whatever you like and combine it. Very shiny. And here we have the sustainable version and the fantastically, this is very synthetic, and the fantastic handle, fantastic feel. It's also, it's again, it's the Luxe from Lenzing. It is really something very special. Special drape. This is knitted. The one I showed before was woven. And it has this honest shine also. We have a polished shine surface. We have a knitted gold-ish shiny surface, but it's knitted. So we have actually a structure here, which we don't have here. And then we have a matte yarn with lurex. It's not because the shine is not really obtained by lurex. This is not what we're after. It is more, as I said, we want it to come from the fiber. We want it to come from the bottom of the garment, not something that we add. Here we have velvet, and we have velvet which is shiny, and it's also with a texture. And then very end here we have it's a fake suede, but it has this very, very caressing feeling with a little bit of it's very nice to touch and to wear. And this is another way of making a surface where we have it's a more of a print that makes the thing interesting. So this is all I have to share. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Marie-Louise. It was a great presentation. We had only one question asking if you can share fabric pieces and send them to our audience. Would you like to answer that? We answered, but maybe some others also have this question in mind.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I would like to do it, but it's an enormous job to cut all this. I would be happy to do it, but it's not just something I can do. But if you have some special request, you can contact me and we can see if we can find a way.